We're continuing in our series about liturgy and our labor and continuing to think about the Sabbath. And it's important to remember that the Sabbath was for Israel a gift. It was a gift of rest. Israel had been in Egypt for a couple of centuries, and during that time they had been enslaved and had to work without rest. And now they were brought out of slavery and eventually brought into the land, and the Sabbath was a sign of the gift that they had been given. It's a gift of rest, but it's also a gift of joy. According to the Old Testament, the place of worship, the place where God had put his name, was a place for Israel to eat and drink and rejoice before him. So this is what the Sabbath means. The Sabbath is a gift of rest, and a gift of joy. The Pharisees made this joyful gift into a burden. They laid heavy yokes on the people, and many Christian Sabbatarians have also done the same. Instead of treating the Sabbath as a day of joy, as a gift from God, they've treated it as a burden, something that is about restrictions on activity rather than rejoicing in God's goodness. And however we sort through the debates about the relationship between the Sabbath and the Lord's Day, whether we're Sabbatarians or not, it's important that we remember that there's a moment of joy within our week of work. Whether it's the whole day that we think of as the Christian Sabbath, or if we think of the worship service as the time of rest and the New Covenant Sabbath, it's important to see that there's a moment of joy when we're in the presence of God to eat, drink, and rejoice. And that moment of joy fills the whole week with joy. Joy flows out from our worship into the week of work. And then joy is on the horizon as we go about our work. And our work is suspended between the joy of the Lord's Day past and the joy of the Lord's Day that's still coming. This joyfulness is essential for modern work. Modern work is drudgery. Modern work is like the factory workers at the beginning of Joe versus the Volcano, who are trudging along toward the factory. They're just cogs in a big machine. Their work is tedious. Their work is repetitive. Their work is not fulfilling. But when we put our work, whatever it is, in the context of this day of joy, this moment in the presence of God, then even the most tedious work becomes filled with that joy, as our work is suspended between the joy of the Lord's Day past and the joy of the Sabbath that's yet to come.